Welcome to another episode of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. And I guess the first thing that I'm into this week is the beard life. That's right, it's back. If you listened to last week's episode, you know that I made the horrible mistake of shaving my beard off and instantly had regret. This week I'm happy to announce that after literally me doing nothing, and that's like the benefit of the beard, I suppose, it's back, and I'm really happy with the results. I think it's at a good length right now. Maybe I could go a little bit longer, but I feel like it's looking good. My hair, on the other hand, if you remember back a few weeks ago, I felt like I made a mistake of going down to a 1-level buzz on it. Right now, it's definitely longer than that. I haven't really done anything with it, but I'm thinking about taking it back down to a 1 because I kind of like it. I like that length. It's like the perfect length where it's not like when you put your hand over it, it doesn't feel like really rough. It feels kind of smooth, but it's also kind of like nice and short. And I don't know, I'm kind of feeling the vibe with that, with the 1 on the top and just like a 1 week's beard growth. I feel like I have the win. I do have a whole bunch of various instruments that I use for all of these things, and maybe I should make a video one of these days. This would be a great video to make during these upcoming weeks where I'm home every day and trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. Although we will talk later in this episode, I'm going to have no lack of things that I need to do as we go into the next chapter as summer comes to an end. In fact, this episode is titled The Final Week of Summer because that's exactly what it was. And I guess that's what I'll talk about here because we don't need to talk about men's grooming and things like that. I do think the audience is probably there for that, and maybe there's an interest in that. And maybe, like I said, maybe there will be a whole video series or whatever because, maybe it'll be something that's encouraging for other peeps out there. That's what I always try to think of when I'm making videos. It's like, how can this... I used to just think like I was sharing home movies, but then after all these years and all the comments that I've gotten, including listener feedback on these podcast episodes and just meeting people out in the world, in the wild, if you will, it's come to my attention that it's a lot more than that, and you never know who you could affect through something. So maybe making something as simple as like, hey, I wasn't really loving my hair, so I decided to buzz it off, and what I thought was a mistake was actually something that I really liked, and if I can do it, you can do it too. I think it could be a powerful thing for dudes out there, and who knows what could come of anything, really. It's a wild world here on the interwebs that I weave. So that's what we do. But let's talk another follow-up episode, or another follow-up topic, I should say, for last week's episode is my improvement of the week. As you know, I'm trying to make like little things where you just take a little bit of time to do a little something that makes your life better or easier. And this week I decided that I was going to go out one evening. It was beautiful out. And I decided that I was going to take care of the front of our house, like in terms of weeds and the shrubs and my rose plant or rose bush that's growing out of hand. So I went out there and I trimmed a bunch of stuff back and I pulled some weeds out and I got it looking so good. It took me a whole bunch of wheelbarrow loads that I loaded up and took down past the dune drop and threw into the woods down there. But that front of the house is looking on point, and it was another one of those little wins, I feel like, the win of the week, if you will, where it was like, dude, this was looking a certain way. I made the decision that I was going to go out and I was going to take care of this. Listen to a podcast while I did it, so it was enjoyable for that reason. And as I look at it when it's done, I'm just happy with it. So it's on my my menu of things to do, I suppose, where I'm just like, hey, I'm going to find these little things that I can do around the house or in terms of organization or my life where I make just an effort, very little effort each day to make something a little better. And if you do that time after time and pressure, as I always say, you will make a huge difference in your life. So that was my little thing that I did. And I encourage you, if you're watching or listening to this, we got some time ahead of us right now. If you're just sitting there doing nothing, go ahead and like find something around your place or wherever you're at. Maybe you're at work. Look at your desk. Maybe I'm definitely not the person to give this advice because if we pan this camera around, I literally need to do that right now. In fact, that's maybe what I should be doing while I'm podcasting. I should be like getting something done, and we might be doing that in the future, which we'll talk about later. Some foreshadowing there for you. But that was my little improvement and a little win, and I was proud of that when it was done. It's one of those things like when I look at my house, I can feel like dang, that's nice. And I want everything in my life to be like that. I don't want to be disorganized anymore. I don't want to have things that are like not where they should be. I don't want to have things that I don't use. I want everything to be orderly and like planned. And that just makes me feel good, Working my way there, and I'll eventually get there. Let's talk about the thing I think I talked about last week as well, and that was camping with Clark Man. I call this RC camping with Clark Man because that is a big reason that we go up to camp is to run all of our RC stuff. And this is something that he really was interested in doing and wanted to to do for a long time, and we finally found a weekend where it was like, hey, we can finally get up there and camp. And that's what we did last weekend. I wasn't like feeling it a whole lot like before I left, because it's a lot of stuff to get around. I take my tent up there, and while I love my $5 yard sale tent that Deb got for me more than a decade ago now, I always know like putting it away is a huge pain in the butt. And I had to like make sure I had all this stuff. And Cody and Clark actually went up to camp a little early because I was like finishing up some YouTube work. In fact, it was this podcast. You guys kept me from leaving earlier. You didn't. That's on me. But I felt like I had everything in the car, and then it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I was like, oh no, I need to go grab this. So I run upstairs and I come back down. I'm like, oh no, I need this thing. And it was just like, I need like a checklist possibly. It's not like we camp very often, but I think if we did, I would have like a kit made. It's another one of those little improvements. In fact, that would be a great video too, right? Like, here's my essential kit for camping. This is everything that I take, and I have it in the garage ready to go, like in a duffel bag or something, like all of these things. And I'm just go right into the car and it's gone. And I think that'd be really cool. So you can see the gears turning as to where like the next chapter is going. I'm going to be like kind of following this path, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. As for up at camp, let's not rush through this because it was a lovely weekend. We went up, I think it was Saturday night. I'd have to go back and review the footage because of course I documented this because that's what I do. But we went up, and the first thing we did, Clark Man wanted to go swimming instantly. So I was like, and of course there was another creature up there that wanted to go swimming even more than Clark Man, if you can believe that. She's brown, she's big. Her name's Roxy Bear, and she was like running for the creek. So we go down there, and luckily for me, I ended up getting a RC boat sent to me for free from a company called Bezgar. They sent us 2 other trucks in the past, and they're like, do you want to try out our boat? And I'm like, heck yeah, I want to try out your boat. So I took that out there, and wouldn't you believe it? This thing is fire. It is so fast. It wasn't on fire. Don't worry about that. If there was going to be a fire, I think setting fire inside the creek would probably be the best thing. This boat is so darn fast, and it was so much fun to run that when I came home from camp, I actually listed my Traxxas boat for sale on eBay because it's nowhere near as fast as that. It's a bigger boat, but it's super slow. And I'm like, dude, I can make $100 off this. So there's another thing, like instead of having this boat that's going to sit for the next year and probably never get used again, because I have one other boat that's pretty fast as well. And I don't know how many boats a guy needs. I'll never have like a yacht or whatever, or an actual boat, but RC boat life is one that I enjoy. It's a lot of fun. But I don't need that many boats. I need a boat for me and a boat for Clark Man. And now the Bezgar's fallen into that role. And if I can sell the Traxxas one off, make $100 that I can use towards other things that I could find value in and that are serving me, a throwback to last week's episode, I think that's a win. So I listed that, but back up at camp, we ran that. And then we also did another RC run. We went up to our rock crawling spot, which this year was not good. And it's kind of crazy because you hear about all these like insane like wildfires and storms and what was it? Not a tornado, Kane. It was a hurricane or something like that was happening in California. You hear about all this crazy weather that's happening. Most likely caused by us. Most likely. And here in Pennsylvania, we're living the life right now because everything is like really good. In fact, we've got a lot of rain and all the water's up. Usually when I go down to the creek in the summertime, there's all these flat rocks that we take our rock crawler on. And if you don't know what a rock crawler is, it's a very slow RC truck that you just kind of drive over things really slowly. It kind of looks like you're off-roading in real life, and I love it. In this case, Clark and I go down there. There's no rocks. Everything's underwater. The current's going crazy. Like there's these rapids there. So we didn't have much space, but we did find a little bit to go through, and that was very enjoyable. We were only there for a little bit. I jumped in the water and went swimming slightly, but like I was afraid I was going to get carried away, dude. Like literally carried away. So we were only up there for a bit, and then Clark Man needed to come back to take care of some business. So it was one of those things. TMI maybe? We'll talk more about business here in a little bit too. And we go back, and then I find this awesome puddle right out in front of the camp too. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be epic. So we did a whole bunch of like running through that with our truck too, and just got the whole thing plastered in mud. And it was just like, it was definitely like Pennsylvania activities, but I really enjoy the RC life, as you probably know. And we got all of that in up there. I didn't bring my drone. I realized that was one thing I forgot in all of my running back and forth to take things up there. I forgot my drone. because I could have got some sick drone shots, but that's okay. After we did all that, ended up setting up the tent, getting that all together, which is super easy to set up. Like I said, the teardown of it's kind of the pain, because there's this bag that the tent goes into that's literally just big enough to fit the tent. And it gave me this idea for an invention that probably already exists, because all of my great ideas have already been taken. I want like a tent that's just like, you press a button, very much like an umbrella, and it pops open. And you're like, okay, I'm living in my tent. Things are great. And then when you're done, I want it to like fold down like an umbrella too. And then you just throw that in your car or whatever. I think that would be pretty darn neat if that existed. Maybe it does. And if it does, I'm still not going to get it, because the $5 tent that Deb got for me, I have so much connection to and attachment to it that I'm going to use it for the rest of my life. $5 at the Avis yard sale in like 2012 or something like that. There's a video from us living on Ridge Road where you can see us, or see me setting it up for the first time. But we've gotten our use out of that, and it's been really fun. We did end up we had dinner up there, and then we had a little fire thing, made some s'mores, did the whole camp thing that you'd want to do. And then Clark and I slept in there, and it was really nice. Other than, Clark fell asleep instantly, and then I fell asleep. I think I was out fairly quickly too, because I remember him being asleep, and then I don't remember anything after that. But around 1 o'clock, I noticed that there was a light on outside. And they have like a camper up there, and I heard Deb out. So I was like, oh, what's going on? And then I saw this green light coming towards me. And you might think it's aliens, right? No, it was, I opened up the tent door, like, zzz, you unzip it, and there's a dog there. And I thought it was Mickey, but it was Roxy Bear. Deb puts these green, like, glow rings that light up around the dog's necks like a collar, so she can see him at night, especially Rox, because she just disappears. In fact, at the campfire, I literally, like, stepped on Roxy, because she's just, like, camouflage into the ground. I think I was taking something over to Clark, man. I was like, oh, Roxy Bear came out of nowhere. But yeah, Roxy was outside her tent, and she was, like, sniffing and snooping, and Deb said she was being kind of antsy, like kind of restless. I've tried getting her into the tent. In fact, I've tried this before. Roxy does not sleep in the tent. She won't go in the tent for whatever reason. So if I ever get a new dog, I got to make sure they're a tent dog. I got to throw them in the tent right away, throw them in the creek right away. You got to get them like accustomed to the life that they're hopefully going to live. But they went back into the cabin or the camper, and I was like kind of awake. So I started listening to an audiobook that I had. It's called Adrift, 74 Days Lost at Sea. I actually finished that this week. I have an Audible subscription now, which I love. I love listening to audiobooks very much, probably for the same reason you like listening to podcasts, because you can do something while you're listening, and you can be engaged in the story while also accomplishing maybe one of your little tasks that you have, where you're trying to get something fixed up or something cleaned up or something organized. I feel like I can check two things off with like one activity. So that's really nice. So I was listening to that book, and then I drifted off myself. I was adrift asleep. And then I had to go back and be like, did I listen to that? Did I listen to that? I think there's probably a sleep setting, which I should set, because I've been kind of getting into that habit lately where I'll be like super tired, and then I'll just put like a really long YouTube video on, have like one of my AirPods in, and then I'll just be like, and I'm usually asleep within like 30 seconds. So I don't even know why I do it. I guess it's just like one of those comfort things. But we woke up the next morning, and we kind of dinked around up there for a little bit, did some more RCing. My truck was just like encased in mud, which was hilarious. I ended up putting that into the car. I got the tent all like kind of folded up and all of our stuff packed up, and then we went home that day. We didn't really stay much into that day because Deb, I think, was leaving as well. So it was just like a little short thing, just an overnight thing. And that's really what Clark wanted to do. We checked off all the boxes that he wanted. So we did the RC thing. We had some food up there. He's an eater. He likes to eat. We had some s'mores. We had a campfire. We stayed in the tent. We did all the things, and I loved it. And it's really got me thinking more about doing the camping thing going forward, where I talked about this concept before called like camping coasters, where we go camping at various locations that are very close to amusement parks. So we'd go camping in the evening, and then that day we would go to the amusement park in the area and have a blast there, and then drive somewhere else the next day and do that. I think that could be a cool summer activity for us. Cody, unfortunately, she's out. She doesn't want to do the roughing it camping thing. So I don't know if that's going to be a thing, but I could always do solo runs too. It doesn't have to be all the time. My brain is one where it's like, hey, if I'm going to do this thing, I have to do it 100. Like we're 100. I can't do like 10%. I can't be like, hey, I'm just going to do this maybe like once a month or once a week. I'm like every day. And we'll talk about that. Again, new chapter coming up. Man, finding balance. It's been the bane of my Missing Pieces existence ever since the beginning. All you OGs that have been listening forever, you know the struggle that I go through to to just try doing things a little bit. It's either all or nothing. And I'm very bad at those kind of things, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit better after 3 years or whatever of me doing this. While I was up at camp, I got to tell you this story. This would be like the story of the episode here. When I was getting out of my car, the sun was setting. It was beautiful. I think everyone was eating dinner or just finishing dinner. And I noticed on my driver's side door on the Subaru, my 2022 Subaru Forester, what is that thing called? Wilderness Edition? I love this car. Abyss blue is the color. It's like exactly what I want. I'm a Subaru guy, and this car was like, it just spoke to me. The reviews are outstanding. Like if you're thinking about getting a car, Subaru is definitely something you want. I got a story about that, but let's talk about what I noticed. And as the sun's setting, the light's hitting off of it just right, and I just take a look at it. And I notice a door ding on the driver's side front door, which immediately like crushes my soul. If you guys realize just how much I went through to not have door dings in this car, because our old Subaru had door dings on it. It was a 2013. It had been through a lot. And this car, I was like, ever since I got it, I've been like babying it. I drive it so nicely. I try to keep it very clean. And when I park somewhere, I park out in the boonies. I'm one of those guys. I park out like I'm walking a couple miles to go to Walmart. Not that far, but like I always park where there's plentiful spaces, much to Cody's dismay as we're passing by like the best spot in the lot. And I'm driving out way past the cart return thing to park. I take such good care of this car, and I'm just so like particular about it. And I noticed this door ding, and I'm like crushed. I was like, how did this happen? And I was like, I bet it happened at Knoebels when we went last week. It was probably got dinged there or whatever. And I was really upset about it. And I am going to fast forward in this story a little bit, but a few days later when we're at home, Clark asked me, you can probably tell where this is going. He asked me, Dad, would you be mad at me if I told you something? I said, no, I wouldn't be mad at you. Tell me whatever you need to tell me. I'm not going to be mad. He says, I was the one that did the door ding. I went into the car to get Pappy's handicaps plaque thing, because he had that when we went up to Knoebels, so we didn't have to park really far out. And that's where I assumed it happened at. But we had that in the car so he could walk just a little bit of distance instead of parking way out. And I park there knowing full well, like as we're driving through the parking lot, these handicap people park like madmen. Like there's cars angled everywhere, and I'm just like, oh gosh. But we had enough space, I felt like. But we're there the whole day, so cars can come and go. And I assumed somebody just got out of their car and went, well, bam, right with their door into it. But no, it was Clark man who went into the car to get Pap's handicap thing, which he left in there. And when he opened the door, we have like a metal post in our garage that kind of supports the second story. Whenever I get out of the car, I'm very careful about it. In fact, I considered before like wrapping that with something, and I should have done that, because when Clark man swung the door open, he hit it off that pole. And he didn't tell me because he knows how I am. And in that moment when he told me, there was like this temptation for me to be like upset and be like, all this work that I've done to protect this car, and my own son, he betrays me. But I knew that if I got upset in some way, that would be the last time he ever told me anything, right? Like that would be it. So I was just like, man, it's an accident. It's okay. And I started looking into paintless dent repair, which I have to say is very hard to find. There was a guy that I went to a couple years ago to take care of this dent that happened on the roof of our old Subaru. We went to a Clark's baseball game or t-ball game, and when we come out, there's a nice sized dent in our roof. So they were able to get that out back then. And I went to the same place, but when it turned out, when I get there, that the guy, he isn't there anymore. And like the people are there, they were like, he's the tenant before the previous tenant, and he's gone. I'm like, okay, that's weird. So I started making some phone calls, and I called the quality collision place that we used to go to when we had like deer incidents and stuff. I'm like, do you guys do paintless dent repair? If you don't know what that is, they just kind of pound the dent out without like, putting a new door on or like painting the whole car or whatever. It's just like a little dent thing, little ding. They're like, we don't do it, but we got a guy. So I called that guy and left a message, didn't get a hold of him. But the next day when I was taking Roxy for a walk, I was like, let me try calling him again. And he answered, and he's like, yeah, I'll be down at this car dealership that's like literally like 5 minutes where I'm at right now. I'm like, dude, that's crazy. I'm like 5 minutes away. He's like, well, bring it over. I think I can get that taken care of for you. So I go over, and he takes a look at it, and he's like, yeah, I can definitely fix that, but it's going to be a little costly because it's in a tough spot. It was like on the ridge. I'm like, oh God, give me the bad news. He's like $50. I'm like, dude, I thought this was going to be like 200 or $300 for somebody to do this. But no, he fixed it right there in the spot. It looks flawless. I gave him $60 just because I was so appreciative of him just taking me in right there. Freaking Roxy Bears with me. Like I was just walking on the walking path, and I didn't know this was all going to happen like that, but it did. And I gave him the money, and he was very appreciative of it. I was very appreciative because the door ding's gone. So it was like a whole mistake like erased, and it made me very happy to have that taken care of. Caused me a lot of stress though, because I was just devastated. But the thing is, like, it's just a physical thing, and eventually things are going to happen. Like, your car is a road warrior. Stuff's going to happen to it. But when it's like brand new, just like with many things, you feel like the urge to keep it nice. Like, I'm sure there'll be someday I won't care about that at all. In fact, if that happened to my 2013 Subaru, I would have looked at that and been like, well, there's another one. But I didn't realize just how easy and cheap it is to fix it. Like, this guy does that, the dealership's cars, like when they come in, they get like cars from auction. They pound the little dings and stuff out, because that's something that people notice when they're looking at cars, and that can be like a negotiation thing. Like, and it's got a bunch of door dings on it. You don't want anything that's going to like make people feel that way. There is some bad news though. When I was there, I looked and they had my exact car there not the same one, but like the same spec of a 2013 Subaru Crosstrek, the car that I had before this that we bought new back in 2013 for $23,000. Keep that number in mind. This car was a 2013, so we're talking 10 years later, had 140,000 miles on it, and they're selling it for $14,000. And I was just thinking how crazy that is. Well, it's also crazy because I traded mine in for like 10 or 11,000, but I knew like I wasn't going to get retail, but I was thinking just how nuts it is that you can sell a car that's 10 years old with 140K on it. Like, this car has had an entire life with lots of life left. It's a Subaru, but they're selling for 14 grand. Like, you could drive a car for 10 years like that. I can think about that with my Subaru. I could drive this thing for 10 years, put 140,000 miles on it, and still get like more than half my money back on it. It's just wild. It's wild. Used cars are just insane. Definitely not the time to buy a car or a house or literally anything these days. Like, you just got to sit tight with what you got, I guess. But yeah, that was something. So that was the door ding story, the door ding incident, as I'm calling it, caused by my own son, but repaired relatively inexpensively and off my shoulders. There was another weight on my shoulders, and I'll talk about that here as we talk about the next day beyond camp. This all happened over a course of like a week with the door ding stuff, like trying to get that resolved. It was like I made some calls. But the day after camp, we went to visit our friends Sarah and Andy, who live in Vermont, originally from our area. We graduated with Sarah, one of Cody's best friends, and a friend of mine from school. And they were in the area, so we went to their like creek lot, if you will. They have like a house on the creek, and then you can go down and like chill down there. So they had a whole setup, and we were down there having a good time. We got some pizzas and stuff. It was like the ideal day. And then when we left there, Cody had like an appointment, so we had to come back home. And I was outside taking care of the turkey-ons. And this is after the door ding incident. The door ding still wasn't fixed, so I was like, that was on me. As silly as that is, some of you guys are like, whatever, Greg. But yeah, I was dealing with that. And then I was outside feeding the turkey-ons, and then Clark Man comes out, and he's like, Dad, Roxy pooped in the basement. And I was just like, oh God. I said, how bad is it? He's like, it's bad. So I come in, and it was awful. Like, literally, imagine if you melted, say, 2 gallons of chocolate, and you dumped a gallon of that on the floor back here, and then the other gallon you just ran through the entire space with and then stood over by the door. That is essentially what I came into. And to say the door ding got me upset, that was like beyond upsetting, because I don't know if you guys know, but I put this God tier carpeting down here that is just, it's the best carpeting you could ever buy. And I am so particular about it. And to have that happen was just like, oh my God. Like, I had the septic thing a few weeks ago, and then the door ding, and now this, and they say things come in threes, so I'm hoping this was it. But I tried cleaning it up the best that I could, and I put like water, and I got like dish soap, which I've come to find out that you shouldn't do. If you have like a carpet stain, you should use cold water, 50% water, 50% white vinegar if you're trying to clean things up. And typically things like that will come out. The hardest thing to come out is coffee. I learned this later in the week when the carpet cleaning guys came. So I got that all cleaned up, made some phone calls for that, had the guy come, and then they cleaned the carpeting down here. There's still a little bit of a stain that's back here, like where the terrible spot was, but they're coming back on Tuesday of this week to go over that again. He's pretty confident that that'll come out. So another thing resolved, but another nightmare. And my prediction, my explanation as to how that happened was most likely, I think it happened before we left that day. Like obviously, like Roxy's never done this before, but when we dropped her off at Deb's for one of our vacations, she did that there. And it was just like, wow, she pooped in the house. Like, this is so unbelievable. But I mean, you have to think about Roxy. She's like, what, like 90 in dog years at this point. She's 12 times 7. That'd be, she's 84. She's over 84 years old in dog years. And, you know, she's starting to get up there. And what I think happened, this happened before we left because Cody let Roxy down here when I was working on something in the morning. She's like, oh, Roxy wants to come down. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Because I don't restrict her from going down here. She's usually just laying down here sleeping. She never causes any grief, supposedly. But I went upstairs to like clean the hardwood floors and stuff. And I think the door got closed when I was up there. And then after that, I was getting some lunch. And I heard like a tapping at the door. And I was like, what the heck? So I came over and Roxy's standing on the steps. I'm like, come on, Bear, get up here. So I let her upstairs, close the door. I don't even know if I closed the door, but I let her up and everything was good. We went to the Sarah and Andy's, came home, and then that's when we found it. So it could have either happened like when she was stuck down here, like she maybe needed to go out. And I was upstairs like cleaning the floors and I had earbuds in. I didn't even know, completely forgot about her. She just blends in with the floor at this point. She's just always just laying there sleeping like a house cat, if you will. So I think it may have happened then, or it could have happened when we were gone. We were gone for probably about 2 hours or so. And maybe she was like, oh, I got to go. Where am I going to go? So she comes downstairs and she did it here. But I think what happened was, being that most of it was right here where she typically lays, I think it might have happened while she was sleeping. I think she might have had an accident. She got up and then like went over to the door, and then by then it was already done. So I don't think it was one of those things where she maliciously came down, because she's like thrown up before. And I'm sorry this is getting so graphic. It's reality. It's the life of pets. If you have a dog or a cat, you know what I'm going through possibly. She'll go to the door and that's where she'll throw up, like right in front of the door. Like I need to get out and I can't get out. But yeah, that was fun to deal with, and still not quite resolved, but I feel like pretty good about it, kind of like getting taken care of, because by Tuesday morning it should be all good. Should we get into some fun stuff though? Like I guess we had some fun stuff. That was not so fun. A couple not fun things here this week. The fun thing we did was we went to see the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Mutant Mayhem is what it's called. And Clark and I were both excited to see this, and Cody had to go back to work on Wednesday. So I was like, hey, it's the perfect day. Just me and you. We'll go to see the movie. And we went to do that at 2 p.m. The 3D showing. It was the only one at our new location movie theater, because the other one closed. And actually, I like this one better because like it's I don't know, it's nicer inside. The prices are more affordable. It's just like an absolute win. So we went in there, and when you know it, we had another private screening. It was just Clark and myself, watching this movie, which was actually really good. I don't know if you've heard of it or seen it, but Turtles has been like a part of my life my entire life. When I was a young kid, it was the first toy line and show that I was really into, because I was a little bit late for G.I. Joe, a little bit late for Transformers. I was born at the very end of '84, and those shows were kind of popping off in the '80s. But Turtles, like from like '89 to like '93, was like my favorite thing until Power Rangers came along. But that's a whole nother story. I had all the toys. I loved the show. Me and my buddies had the stuff, and we would play with them. I remember like putting Turtles in the bathtub, like all this stuff that like a young Clark man would do. And it's just so cool to see that throughout all these years, Turtles have continued to exist. And in their newest form, it's kind of like hand-drawn art style is what this movie looks like, but it's also like computer, and it looks so cool. And in 3D, everything just really pops. And the movie was so good, mostly for the fact that like it was so tailored to Clark Man and his sense of humor, that he was just loving every part of it. He even said like during one part of the movie that like he's like, this movie's not even over yet, but I just love it so much. And he was just giggling, and like being that we had the place ourselves, we could talk freely and just have a ball with it. And we just thoroughly enjoyed Mutant Mayhem so darn much. It's kind of like Into the Spider-Verse, if you've seen that, in terms of art style, and it just really hit on all cylinders. It checked off all the boxes for what I think a good kids movie is like. Even though, like, me personally, I'm kind of partial to the original Turtles movies where they were like live action with like the giant turtles in like animatronics or suits or whatever, where they like look like they were talking. I kind of like that, but this one, like for this generation, I think it was perfect. So I highly recommend the Turtles movie. At this point, being that it's been out for like a month, you might just want to wait because I'm sure it'll be out on Paramount Plus in like a couple months. In fact, we still have to watch the Transformers movie. I saw a deal for Paramount Plus where it was like $30 for a year. So I think I'm going to take advantage of that and get a year of Paramount to enjoy all of their things. They have all the old Nickelodeon shows on there, like if you're my age, that you love, like Salute Your Shorts, Hey Dude. They've got Rugrats, Hey Arnold, I think is on there. All the Nickelodeon stuff is popping on there, and a lot of the stuff from after my time too. So I think that could be a good buy. Even if we just watch a couple movies on there, like the Transformer movie alone, I was gonna probably spend like $30 for us to go watch that. So it pays for itself right there. Oh, so we got popcorn and soda at the movie theater too. I make that like, I know it's a ripoff, but I make it a special thing that Clark and I always get a popcorn and soda because I want him to have that experience. I don't know how long movie theaters are going to be around for. In fact, I just saw an article about how Disney is struggling because how every time they put a movie out before, it was like a guaranteed $1 billion in the box office. And now people aren't really going to the movies as much anymore. People are like letting movies flop that aren't really like 10 out of 10s. In fact, like this year, like what the Barbie movie is like the biggest movie. Surprising to me. I thought that was going to be just a flop. When I saw the trailer or one of the movies we're watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so bad. But no, apparently not. And I'm just, it's just crazy to see. And like the fact that we were there by ourselves, I was having very, very familiar flashbacks to when we'd go to the other movie theater that's now out of business, where it was just me and the family watching a movie. But it was a Wednesday afternoon at like 2:00, so it's not like prime time. And there were cars in the parking lot, so there was other people there just not watching that. And they had been out for a while too. So let's just hope for the best. Let's hope with one movie theater in our town, we can all come together to keep it alive. Let's vote with our wallets that we want something like this. Something that didn't happen with our mall. People were just like, I'm just going to go to Walmart. I'm going to go to Target. I'm going to go to Amazon probably. And we lost our entire mall. We lost our Best Buy, Circuit City before that, Toys R Us, obviously. Like, it's just a wasteland of retail. And it's unfortunate. Like, I remember going to the mall, and we're even there like after its heyday. But like in the early 2000s, going to the mall and be able to walk around and look at the stores, get some food. Maybe, I'm sure some towns still have that, particularly if you live in like a populated area that's not depressed like ours. It'd be really nice to have that experience again, just to experience it as like a place of socialization, which I guess we don't need anymore because we have phones, and you don't need to like go talk to somebody to find out what they're doing. You can see them posted on Instagram or on Facebook. And that's our reality, and it sucks and it's sad, but it is our reality. Let's go on to that evening. There was like a doubleheader that day. We did the Turtles movie, which was awesome. And that night, Pap took us fishing up at the lake. Fishing is something that I've never really gotten into. My dad obviously never took me fishing, nor did he really do anything with me. I was left on my own pretty much, which is why I just did video games and played with toys like extensively, and Lego, obviously. But he wanted to take Clark me fishing, and of course I tagged along too. And we had a fun time up there. It was we caught some fish. I got some video of it, of course. One thing that I didn't like, and I guess I'm probably not cut out to be a fisherman, this is embarrassing, but I'll tell the story anyway. Bud had like some worms that he bought, and I went to put a worm on my line, and like I picked the worm up, and like it started moving, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't like stab this through this moving like live worm and put this on the hook. So I had Budman do that for me, and he was doing it for Clark too. And he gave me a wrath about it. But you know what? I'm not ashamed. It's just I did not like that. I did not like the idea. I know worms are just worms, but I didn't like the idea of like killing the worm like that. I'd much rather just use a spinner. And I did try using a spinner like once, but then it got stuck on like some branches under the water, and like I lost it. So we had Pat put the worms on. That kept getting bit off, but we caught some fish, and it was a good time, and it created some good memories for myself and Clark, man. And maybe something we'll get into. I got to figure out like an alternative for these live worms that the fish would still be interested in. So if you're a fishing expert or enthusiast, let me know if there's something that I could use that would simulate a worm essentially without having to like kill a worm. It's silly, isn't it? But yeah, that's where I'm at on it. But yeah, it was a good time. There was a old couple up there fishing. The guy like let Clarkman reel in a fish, which was really sweet of him, and they were just great people. And I think like the fishing crowd, I think might be like that. They're just really nice and like helpful and very caring, and especially if you're a kid there, like they want to make sure you have a good experience. So that was fun. And I'm a kid at heart, so it was great seeing them and talking to them. Uh, we're talking about last week of summer. Well, we also had our last yard sales. That was our, I guess, the cap off to the week. We had a day of yard sailing. There was a few community yard sale things happening. I did find a couple scores. I got this little, I guess, incomplete Duplo set, but it had Pluto in it, which I think I can sell for like $10 by himself. And it was only $2 for that. And I got a Batgirl alarm clock for $5, and I'm probably going to sell as well. Clarkman was finding scores on scores. He found a big thing of the water balloons that we used recently. They're expensive as heck at Walmart, like almost to the point where it's like, man, these are not worth buying for the amount of like use you get out of them. He found it for $4, and then he found a couple little toys, and he was having a blast. He got some silly putty, having a good time. So that was fun. We also did some shopping outside of yard sale shopping. Clark and I went down to Target this week, and he bought a transformer that he was really interested in using his YouTube earnings, because he'd done some live streams and got some super chats, so it was burning a hole in his pocket. So he went down there and did that. And we also got one of the turtles. His favorite turtle, surprisingly, is Donatello. Was his favorite turtle. Back in my day, Donatello was like, he's the purple turtle. He didn't have the cool weapons. I was always like, I love Leo, and everyone loves Raphael, and Michelangelo's the party dude, but he loved Donatello from this movie. And we got that action figure as well. But yeah, Transformers is like Clarkman's life. He's also into doing the little Hot Wheels Mario Kart guys. He loves racing those. That's his new thing. We had to go back to Target because Cody needed some things, so he ended up getting a couple of those. So we did a lot of targeting. Their toy aisle is just so good. It's so on point, and like I'm just wildly impressed with all of the things that they're able to cover there. Like Walmart doesn't stand a chance. Like they've got, the Sonic, the Mario, the Jurassic World, they've got Hot Wheels, they've got Transformers, they've got G.I. Joe, they've got the vintage stuff like Masters of the Universe. They've got obviously like 3 aisles of toys for girls. They've got 2 Lego aisles. They've got the Mega Blocks kind of just sneaking in there besides some of the Lego stuff. And it's just like, man, it's a dream. And some of the toys are really good quality these days, and they're very expensive, but like just really killing it is what Target's doing. So I'm happy to go there. And we shot some videos there. I have one that's like 30 minutes long of us just shopping at Target, like looking at everything. I don't know if I'm gonna put that out or not. Sometimes I just keep movies as home videos is what I call it. I have a folder where it's just like unreleased stuff, because you don't need to be there for everything. But that was fun, and the yard sales are fun. It was a little sad knowing like that's the end, but that is the end of summer break, the end of that chapter, and the start of a new one. And I guess that's what I'll talk about next here. And I'll probably make another video about this on the 1-year anniversary of me kind of going into podcasting seriously. If you remember back last year, I think it was September 1st, I uploaded like my first video. I was doing like 3 different series of podcasts on here. And eventually I just realized that was way too much. Like I was doing like 3 questions, business meeting podcast. There was missing pieces. There might have been something else, but eventually I just kind of brought that back down to just my audio journal. And that was really what people wanted the most, because that the other ones were like, they would do like kind of okayish, but it's like what people mostly want, I think, is just to kind of check in and see how things are going. But this year, things might be changing a little bit. Brickitect, starting Monday, which is tomorrow as of the recording of this, I'm going to be going back into Legoing again, which I'm very excited about. I haven't really had time to do much of anything, but I have so much yard sale Lego to process. I've got so many things to organize. I've got other things to like kind of like sort out, get into my collection. I've got a ton of stuff to build. I've got some things to sell. And I was thinking every day I would just like work on that and then do I'm thinking about doing a live stream each day, maybe just like 30 minutes. I don't want to burn out. And again, this is one of those situations where I'm like, oh, I just can't do a live stream on Mondays. I got to do it 5 days a week, like Monday through Friday. But I was like, if I'm going to be working on something, why not hit up that and hang out with people? Because I think there is an interest and a need for like long form entertainment, something that just like me, you can just kind of put on and like work on something else or drift off to sleep to, or whatever the case is. If I'm doing it, I might as well be live. And I feel like I can be somewhat of an entertaining guy if we get to chatting and talking about stuff. You're still here after dang near 40 minutes, right? So there's something there. So maybe that's something you'd be interested in. But I was thinking what I do is after I'm done like doing whatever I'm doing or while I'm doing it, I'll shoot like just a little video, maybe even a YouTube short that is just like, here's what I did today in Lego. Today in Lego, I organized all these pieces. Today in Lego, I built up this awesome set, and here's what I like about it. But try to make that something that a person that doesn't want to watch 30 minutes or an hour of a live stream, they can just kind of be like, oh, that's what you did. That's what happened today. Thanks for saving me all the time. But I was thinking about cross-posting that not only on YouTube, but also on TikTok. Think what you will about TikTok as a boomer, such as yourself, that only watches long-form YouTube content like this. I'm kidding, of course, but that's where the audience is. And that's where I watch a lot of my content. I would say that I spend more time on TikTok each week than I do on YouTube. They're just so much better at serving me videos. The algorithm is so on point, and YouTube just keeps giving me crap. Like, it's been ages since I've subscribed to a new YouTube channel. It's just, there's nothing there. And like, I know there's stuff there, but YouTube just does a bad job of like giving you what you want. It's just this, like the same recommendations over and over again from like the same channels you watch. I'm like, I look at like going on to TikTok, like pulling the what is it called? The handle on a slot machine. And sometimes it comes up a bust and you just like move on. And sometimes it comes up where you're like, dang, this is a really cool thing. I'm following this person. And I have Brickitect on there. I have the name. So I was thinking, let's just do like a little vertical filmed video where it's like a little short. And also, like, so not only can people find that on YouTube, where YouTube starts feeding people shorts, I think that's where a lot of discovery happens on YouTube, is through shorts. You like, you're just doing your death scroll, your doom scroll, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. This guy does Lego stuff every day. Okay, let me check it out. Oh, he's live right now. Oh, it's sick. Let me go into the live. Oh, this is fun. Okay, so I might be able to grow there. And then throwing that on TikTok, that's a whole new audience right there. So I think that would be really good. And it's just so weird to go from like making regular, like horizontal videos, which is what I've been doing for all these years, to maybe like live streams and then do like vertical shorts. But that's how people consume content. And if you think that that's not true, you're out of touch with reality, because that's where it's going. So I think it'd be good to kind of build that up and see what I could turn into. And TikTok live streams are nothing to mess with either. Like, there might be a day, maybe like every like Friday or something, it'll be like TikTok live stream day. It could be a good way to pull people from both platforms too, where you're like, hey, I'm going to be on YouTube tomorrow, or I'm on TikTok. I just think it's good to build out and to see what happens. So the Lego channel, I think, is going to see there's going to be a ton of things happening there, and I'm hopeful that the audience still is, because I haven't really done much there throughout the summer, but we're kind of making a comeback, and I'm treating this as like my full-time gig. Like every Monday through Friday, I'm taking weekends off from that, but Monday through Friday, I'm going to be doing Legoing. I'm going to be Legoing is what I call it. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know if some of you came from the Lego thing. In fact, this was my Lego live streaming channel at one point, and we still have peeps that are still here from that. So that's what's going to be happening. I'm just going to be like working on stuff. So it has the added benefit where almost like the small improvements that I talk about today, like I'm going to be working on something that's accomplishing one of my goals while simultaneously entertaining people. I'm not going out of my way to do something specifically because I think it'll get views or this is what people want. It's like, this is what I want to accomplish today. And I think it'd be fun for people to come along on that journey of like, what's Greg doing today? Oh, he's sorting Lego again for the 600th day. That sounds fun. I don't know, but I'm going to try to vary it up and make it really fun for people. And I'm excited, like really excited to do that. Like that, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I just needed like the opportunity to start doing it again. And that's what's going to happen. So that's great. On Greg's World, some of you may subscribe to that channel. No 0 Days is going to make a return. It's going to be like the solo edition, but once again, kind of hearkening over to the Brickitect content. I think No 0 Days, instead of being like a 30-minute long video of like an entire week of all these little hodgepodge things with like one title, I think is going to be a series of shorts. I'm going to try to record a little something each day, maybe like the highlight of my day or something that I find interesting that day, maybe more than one. I'm going to give it like a snappy title that's maybe searchable. And I'm just going to kind of record those that way as like solo content and see where it takes me. Maybe I'll do it for a week, see how it goes. Maybe do it for a month. It might be a nice experiment. We can call it like, short timber or something. But I think that'd be a great way. I don't know if I'm going to post those to TikTok or not, but at the very least, make YouTube shorts, just kind of documenting like, hey, today I pruned up all of my bushes out front. Take a look how beautiful that is. We'll reach a whole new audience with that. And it's like titled that. I've talked before about making videos that are more searchable. Like I'm thinking about these Ocean City vlogs, which I'm in the process of editing now. I'm still very much behind. in terms of summer content. And every day I'm like recording 1 or 2 videos, so they'll be still coming out. And then we got Clark's first day of school tomorrow, so that'll be a video you won't even see until like the middle of September. People are like, wow, Clark doesn't go to school until Halloween. That's crazy. But I'm gonna, like, I think about the Ocean City videos, and I could do it instead of making like we're going to Ocean City 2023 and have that be like a 25-minute video. What it should have been is like tour of the Hilton Garden Inn, Ocean City, Marty's Arcade 2023, what it's like taking the tram ride on the boardwalk at Ocean City, Maryland. Like that could have been 5 or 6 different, like not necessarily shorts, but short videos that are searchable. That way, when someone looks for something like that, they find our content and then maybe come over and subscribe for all the other wackiness that happens. I'm losing a lot of subscribers, and this kind of goes across both of my channels, or all of my channels, I should say. I'm losing a lot of potential subscribers because I'm catering to the audience that I already have. And if there's anything to know about YouTube, is that while there are some loyal people in your audience, people are always moving on. They always find the next thing. In fact, you probably have a channel in your life, or had a channel in your life at one point that was your favorite thing you've ever watched. You couldn't get enough of it, and these days you don't watch it at all. I've seen it happen with Clarkman too. Like, he moves on. So I'm going to try to be more focused on the search engine optimization, if you will, while also keeping like staying true to me. So that's going to be kind of the history of No Zero Days. I think I'm going to try it as like a series of shorts. YouTube limits you to under 1 minute. TikTok, you can go as long as you want. So we'll see how that goes. If anything, I might just end up with a whole bunch of vertical video, which is going to be so weird to record. Oh man, I always cringe when people record vertical before, but that's how people are consuming content these days. So we'll see how that goes. I might end up putting that on TikTok as well. If I do, I'll let you know what the channel is. But that's Greg's World, and the cross posting and seeing what happens. I do wish like I only had one channel. My life would be so much easier if I just had one thing that I was doing instead of having this and that. But I feel like some people would be alienated with like all the Lego content if they come to Greg's World for us to go like traveling, or like this channel is just a variety channel, or that channel is. It's just, it's tricky, you know, to navigate that. And some people subscribe for RC content and they're like, wait, what are you doing at going to the amusement parks? I don't care about that. Or it's like, oh, I love it when you guys travel through the world. What's this crap where you're just like showing yourself vacuuming out your car as this little win of the day? Like, what do I care about that? Like, it's so hard when you just share all the things you're into and up to, but that's what I love to do, and I'm never stopping for anything. Greg's Arcade. I just checked that this morning. I haven't done any gaming footage or any gaming stuff all summer. I really haven't been gaming at all, but it's something that I want to get back into. I really want to play like an epic game, like a Skyrim style game. And there's this game called Starfield that's coming out literally like this week that I thought, man, that might be kind of fun to play. It's on Game Pass, which I have access to. I also love like vintage games, or like retro games, I guess was what they're called. And I love arcade games. And I'd like to carve out, if I could, carve out like a little piece of my day each day to do that. But I'm thinking maybe Greg's Arcade can become a weekend thing, because I'm not doing any Lego like content on the weekends, unless Clark and I are doing it. But I'm making my work schedule Monday through Friday. These podcasts are going to go back to their regularly scheduled like Friday rotation. But then again, I don't know if this podcast is going to continue. Ooh, got you a little scared there. But yeah, I'm debating it for the simple fact that I don't know if I necessarily want to continue just narrating the activities of my week, many of which were already filmed or shared, or will be shared in the future. Like this episode, what I think would be interesting about this episode isn't necessarily to be like, I did this, and this, all of which are going to be future videos. I think what would have been interesting about this episode is to talk about the door ding incident. You know, maybe have some footage of that, have some footage of the guy fixing it or whatever. Or maybe just have some footage of something else entirely. Like I have like some Gundam that I want to build, and I like, how cool would it be if my podcast like had a visual element to it too, more so than just me sitting here, even though this is what you want, because this is what you've experienced for years now, and this is something that you expect. But what if it was just, instead of me recapping my entire week, what if it was just me talking about the one thing that was special that week, that wasn't just a narration of something that happened, but like had a story with it and something to learn from it. Like in that example, I was talking about how Clark admitted doing this door ding, and then my decision to not get mad because I knew what kind of ramifications that would have for him, like way into the future for in our relationship. That's That's something that would be an interesting small video to create that wouldn't get lost in this hour-long thing of me talking about things you're probably going to see otherwise. I do know that there's people that enjoy this, but it's just like I'm trying to decide if this is something I want to invest an hour into each week. So you can comment on that. I'm only going to hear from the most hardcores who are going to say, like, keep doing exactly what you're doing. But it's something that I'm debating, and my decision will be made by September 1st. I'll decide, like, what direction I want to go. This channel might just end up becoming like an archive, because if I do that direction where I just share like that one little thing, like through a video, I'm putting that on my main channel. I think that would be really something there that goes beyond like racing RC cars and more into like helping the development of families and parents and people. Like in that case, it could be anything though. Again, it's more than just home movies. It's about like trying to be a role model and like helping people through life through like misfortunes like that or mistakes and like learning with me as I go and as I make mistakes. So that's something I'm debating. Been doing like it. The only thing that kind of keeps me doing this, I guess, is tradition, because it's like something that I've done now for years, and I want to keep it going for that reason. And I know there's people that listen to this each week, but this is by far like I don't do this because of the views or the money. It's just something that I need to find fulfillment in and get something out of, which listener feedback is definitely something that helps. So we'll get into that here, quite possibly for the last time. What I was thinking I would do with listener feedback in the future is if someone has a comment that strikes me or inspires me or whatever, kind of do what they do on TikTok where they do like the response. I don't know if you can do that on YouTube or not, but I could put like the comment up on the screen and then go into whatever I want to talk about with that. Again, maybe with like a cool visual element, like me going for a hike, or me working on Gundam, or me like repairing something, fixing a fence, feeding the chickens. It could be like a really like interesting thing to kind of like explore. And exploration is what I like to do. So let's get into listener feedback here. As you ponder the possibility of this podcast not existing in literally within a week's time. The first one comes from Sold by Ronnie. He says, and I'm not even going to clickbait this either. I'm not going to say this is the end of it because I don't know. I'm like, it's just something I've been tossed around for a couple weeks and trying to figure out what I want to do. Ronnie says, the real question is, what was Cody's reaction to clean shaven look? I'll tell you this. He says, I know she recently came on board with Team Beard, so I was curious what she thought when you went back to clean shaven Greg. She doesn't like it. She likes the beard now. So I'm like, all right, I've won life apparently. You get your wife to like beards, game over. I think she likes it a little bit shorter though. So maybe we'll go longer. I don't know. We'll see. He says, I love hearing about your eBay success. It inspires me to take a look around my place and to part ways with things that no longer serve me. That was the whole point of last week's episode. He says, I have so many sealed Lego sets and sealed Pokemon products that definitely fall in the category that I need to part ways with to make way for other exciting life adventures. Thank you for the inspiration, as always, my friend. Yeah, I was always inspired by when Ronnie and I are friends for years now, so we'll talk like that. He sold off like his Bricklink store. Like he's a man that he gets into something like me and he goes all in, but man, he is like very, even faster. He's all out. So he's like all in on Lego, all in on Bricklink. And like maybe a year later, he's like, you know what? I want to do Pokemon. Sells off everything that he has in Lego, completely abandons it to go into Pokemon, which is what he's into now, like collecting and reselling and stuff like that. There will be a day, maybe shortly, that he abandons that entirely, I'm sure, and goes into something else. But I love the idea of taking something like the Lego, for example, and it's like something you're not feeling anymore, changing it into something that you do. And that's essentially what he did. So I was thinking like what would be really cool with my Lego collection. Like Clarkman's at the point right now where all he wants to do is build mocks. He likes having all the pieces organized and sorted, like what I've been planning to work on, what I have been doing. And then he builds little things out of that he enjoys. He doesn't really care about Lego sets so much anymore. If he does see a Lego set, he wants to like take it and make it his own in some way, which I love. That's like what I think Lego is about. What I think would be cool to do, though, because I have all these Lego sets that I've bought over the years, thousands and thousands of dollars worth. There's some like still in boxes, some boxes flattened, but all super organized. I think it'd be really cool if those aren't serving me, which they're not, because many of the sets that I own are in moving boxes that were moved here in the very beginning of 2020. They haven't seen the light of day for 3 years. If they weren't in the storage room, would I miss them? Not at all. So what would happen if I were to sell all those things off and then take all that money and invest it in something like a camper van or something that would enable me to go have adventures that Clark and I could do, or I could do solo possibly, where we do the camping coasters or something. Take this thing, very much like what Ronnie did. Take this thing that's overwhelming your space, that you don't find value in and it isn't serving you. Turn it into something that could be like the ultimate thing that's serving you. And what kind of a amazing journey would that be to come along with as this guy, like, and I could document it all, like, hey, today I'm listing 10 Lego sets on eBay, and then I'm trying to do that every day, and then using all that money and having like a tally counter where we build up towards this ultimate goal, which is to buy something incredible that would enable amazing adventures that everyone could go on. So I'd essentially be trading boxes that are sitting in the another box in a dark storage room right now, turning it into like something that would enable all kinds of incredible adventures that people could come on. Or something that I would buy that would depreciate like crazy and be nothing but problems. It could be one of the both or one of the either. And either way, I think it creates some fun content. So I'm kind of at that point. I don't have like a huge attachment to the majority of the Lego stuff. Like what my attachment was, and always been, was I looked at Lego as the vehicle, but it was the destination was for Clark and I to spend time together, to share in this hobby that I've loved my entire life, to make videos about that and to entertain the world while we do that. And we were successful at every aspect of that. The part of Lego that I don't like is the storing of Lego. I don't want anything to do with it after I've done all those things. After that, it just becomes a burden. And we've talked about this before, which people get really fired up about. I've had people say, well, Greg, why don't you just give it away? Well, it's an investment sort of, I guess, at this point. So I think it'd be best to sell it if that's the case. I mean, there are some items that I keep on display that I really enjoy, but the memories are the real thing that I built. Dang, that's good. It wasn't the Lego that I was building. It was the memories. Holy crap. I got to write that down. I don't think I've ever used that line before, but I like that a lot. Maybe that's a good tagline for my channel. Maybe that's the description. I'm not building Lego, I'm building memories. I love that. Man, I love that. Anyways, I encourage anyone out there, if you're looking around your place right now, and it could literally be anything. If you're looking at this thing, decide, and I think Marie Kondo does this thing where it's like, does this thing bring me joy? If it's not bringing you joy, it shouldn't be a part of your life or existence. And try not to think like, well, I might use that someday, or I might need that. Dude, that's me. I have so many things, like all of my camera equipment. I saved like all of my cameras and stuff. It's like, what the heck am I going to do with my OG original Flip Ultra HD that I used in 2011 that like shoots 720p without stabilized video? What am I going to do with that in 2023? How is this thing going to help me accomplish my goals? It either needs to be sold or donated. The sentimental attachment is great, but again, it wasn't about the camera. It was about what I created with that camera. And what I created with that camera was an entire livelihood for myself. So in that case, maybe I should just like put it on the wall. It can be celebrated instead of being in storage, but everything needs to have a purpose. That's what I've been trying to nail home here. And like, that's what I'm thinking about with my life, with my business, with everything. It needs to have a purpose. It needs to be serving me or serving others in some way. Anyways, thank you for the comment, Ronnie. Good luck with your next venture, whatever that is. I'm sure we'll find out shortly, unless the Pokemon thing is here to stay. Next one comes from Nowhere Girl. She says, you look okay without the beard. Just okay. Says, it's not a total disaster. Sometimes we make decisions that don't pan out the way we hoped. At least in this case, it's something that'll grow back to its former glory in a couple weeks. For Greg's farm, this is my other life goal. Maybe we should sell the Lego to put a down payment on Greg's farm. I need to sell a lot of Lego to get some land, though, with the way land prices are. Definitely consider some dogs, she says. They're hugely important animals to keep not only for your own safety, but also protect your livestock from predators like birds of prey, coyotes, and the like. You may have to work with a professional trainer to choose the right breed, as ensuring the dogs are trained accordingly are happy serving you. My two choices for dogs that I would prefer, if it wasn't a lab, obviously labs are the best dogs. I'm saying that like it's a fact. My backup would be, I love Siberian Huskies. I think they're just gorgeous, but they're super high energy. They need to have jobs. They need something to do. And I love Australian Shepherds, which are similar. I like big dogs. Big dogs are just so good. I don't like the small ones, the little yippy ones, the ones that are like bark all the time and bite you. I like big dogs. So that's what I'd want to do. She says, best of luck in the coming weeks as life goes back to normal, whatever normal is, especially to Cody with her shoulder. My mom had a frozen shoulder, which took quite a while to heal. Cody has like a calcium thing, if you didn't know that. Wishing her a speedy recovery and a happy birthday. Happy late birthday. Make sure she does the appropriate exercises, although knowing her, she's probably already doing them. While it must be hard to have your holiday year come to a close, remember that the best times often happen in the most mundane situations. That is true. That was what I learned from doing the No Zero Days last year. I was just like, let me just film like what I'm up to throughout the week. And then it turned into like some really fun stuff. Again, like that's going to exist, but maybe in a different format. But again, nothing like everything that I do here is just an experiment. There's nothing that's set in stone. You can do something literally for like 3 days and then decide like, yeah, this isn't it. This ain't it, chief. And then you can go back. Again, I almost live in a world of absolutes and 100 percentages. It's like, if I'm going to do YouTube Shorts, for example, everything has to be that. And it's not the case. It can be a mix. We'll see what works. But I'm experimenting. And I agree with what you're saying there. Nowhere girl. Next one comes from Janelle. She says, my church's yard sale is coming up, so I'm in the decluttering mode. It's amazing all the junk you buy in a year that you really don't need. I'm so happy I don't have a septic tank. I don't mind the $30 sewage bill. I hate being upside down. It's the reason I don't ride roller coasters. Well, Janelle, I understand that. Like I consider it fun. Like I like roller coasters when you're being propelled forward in whatever directions. I don't like the thing like the pirate ship where you go back and forth and you have that 0G feel, or being spun around a ton. Don't love that, but I love the thrill of coasters. As for a septic, yeah, it's nice having like being connected to the sewer, and anything that happens is like their problem. But that $30 a month that you pay, you are kind of like prepaying for any problems. Like we get our septic tank pumped once every 3 years, and that's like $300. So that's like 10 months of your sewage bill. So you're like paying 3 times the amount that I'm paying. I guess is just like an insurance policy to not have any problems. I would say you're much better off with the septic. That being said, I didn't have to like dig the septic or pay for that. I imagine that was a fortune to do, and that's kind of absorbed into the cost of a house when you get it, as is like the sewage part, I guess. So I don't know. I think you're better off with a septic probably until something bad happens. So maybe it is better just to let the township or whoever handle it. But man, $30 a month for that kind of sucks a little bit, in my opinion. Next up, we got a pickle recommendation. I've been enjoying these coming through. These would be great YouTube Shorts too. It says, take the top off the pickle and carve out a small hole and put tajin in it. I didn't know what tajin is. It's apparently like a spice. It's not for everyone, but me and my siblings loved it growing up in Hispanic households. Great video game. Maybe it's like tahin. I didn't really think of doing that either. I didn't think of like cutting a pickle open. We did try some new spicy dills yesterday. And again, I think I need to start like a little pickle review thing. How good would that be as a 1-minute video? Hey, today we got these new pickles. Let's try them out. Oh, they're spicy, they're sweet, whatever. They have a hint of nutmeg. I don't know. They have a flavor of, whatever. I suck at reviews, but it'd be kind of fun to try that out. And I think like doing videos like that, where it's just like a spur of the moment thing that's not turning into like a storyline where you're like, hey, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing this. Here's a bunch of footage of us doing this. Here's a conclusion. If you're just hitting the button and been like, here's this thing that you instantly want, see ya. That could like encourage all kinds of like creative things from me, which I think would be pretty fun. So tune into No Zero Greg's coming soon to a Greg's World channel near you. Thank you for the comment. Next one comes from Ashley. She says, happy birthday, Cody, as if she's going to read this. I don't think she listens to my podcast. She gets enough of me on a regular basis. She doesn't need this. So it sounds like you had a great week. The one nice thing about the start of the school year is getting back to somewhat of a routine. I agree. That's what the whole thing's on, where I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. So I want to share briefly that I've had custody of my nephew since he's been born. His mom passed away shortly after childbirth, and my brother, his dad, hasn't been around. He's very close to my dad, but doesn't have a constant male figure in his life. We love your channel because we like to see how you are all so close. He also gets so many ideas from Clark Legos, Transformers, etc. We both enjoy the feeling of happiness while watching your videos, and we feel a sense of hope while doing so. Have a great guys week. Oh, that's really sweet. I apologize to your wallet for the Lego and Transformer interest, because those are probably two of the most expensive toys that you could possibly get into. But what is seemingly just home movies can be like a beacon of hope for people. Like, man, I wish, like, I think about people that live in the city sometimes, and when I go out and like feed my chickens, it's just a little chicken feeding in my life. But to somebody that's living in a skyscraper, for example, that's pretty darn cool. Like, man, what's that like to have chickens? Oh, look at them. They're making all these little noises. Isn't that cute? You know, that's something that someone can experience that wouldn't have had the chance otherwise. And the same thing could be applied towards what it's like to have a family that's together, or a dad. Like, I would have loved seeing my channel as a kid, like to see a dad and a kid having fun together and just have it be like this like authentic thing where it's not like prescribed or any way, and like not like, I don't know, sometimes when I see videos with kids in them, they just feel icky to me. And I hope our channel never comes off like that. I don't want it to be like there was this one I was watching, they were reviewing like this 4-wheeler this company wants to send us. And I just felt like the dad was just like, he's like, now drive it over here, get through here, do this shot, do this. And I'm just like, dude, just let the kid ride it. Talk about the 4-wheeler. You don't have to like direct him. Like, I never want to be the director. I just want to be like, hey, here's what we're up to. And then like things just happen, you know? I don't know. But yeah, more than home movies is like, I guess the motto of my existence right now, and where I'm trying to go with things, because it can be more than that, as evidenced by Ashley. We appreciate you watching though, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the videos. Ray has the next comment. Ray is like he's the booster in my life. Ray boosts me up in every video that we make. It's a joy to read Ray's comments. It's gonna sound like self-promotion here or whatever, but Ray's a good guy. I'd love to meet him in real life. We're going to go to Coney Island one of these days and eat like, I think we said 40 hot dogs. I think I'm going to up that to 50. We're going to go into the hot dog eating contest and then ride the Cyclone. He says, good morning. Good Sunday morning if you're watching this on Sunday. Organization is so key, and you're correct that it'll take it a step at a time. It becomes a habit. Your podcast saves some people money for therapy. Maybe for me too. I'm the one talking it out here. He says, it's wonderful how you've been able to create a means to create income and still be there for Clark to see him off in the bus in the morning, and be there in the afternoon to greet his smiling face. Your heart is definitely in the proper place. It's a blessing to share this trip through life with you and your family. Enjoy the last week before school, guys. If possible, can you consider maybe making best of channels content to recap the different channels from the week? I got too much going on, Ray. I don't know. I don't even know how you'd keep track of it. If you were like a hardcore fan, there's just too many channels, which is like why I'm thinking about maybe like cutting the podcast channel off and just putting like a little blurb up on Greg's World each week or whenever something happens. The arcade stuff, I think about just recording my content, and then if something really cool happens in gaming, I'll just share a little bit of that. I think that'd be kind of fun, but put that on the main channel. I want to consolidate at this point. Having 4 YouTube channels is not a normal thing, guys. Most people have one that do this. If you do this for a living, and most chances you have one channel, and you maybe make one video there each day or do like a little something there on a regular basis. You don't have 4. It's not normal, and you're like splitting your audience so much. And I definitely see what Ray's saying. So I've got some thinking to do this week and figure out like what I'm going to do. You know, what am I going to do? It's tough. But thank you, Ray, for the encouragement, man. I'll try to like whittle things down so you're like, you don't feel overwhelmed like maybe I am. Next one comes from Tracy. She says, I miss hearing everyone's win of the week. My win of the week was surviving teaching the first week of school. We have a survivor on our hands. Not only surviving, but things went really well, and all of my preparations were very effective. This is my 2nd year of teaching, and the differences are very big. I didn't do awful last year, but I learned so many things that are making this year run so much more smoothly. Tracy's been such a long-time listener that I remember when she was like still preparing to be a teacher. Isn't that crazy? Now, going into year 2, that's pretty impressive. Congratulations to you for teaching and surviving it. That's the important thing. And with seemingly being a good teacher too, that's even harder. And I have a lot of respect for the teachers out there because I see what they go through and the time and effort that they put into things that often goes unpaid and unthanked, unfortunately. But, you know, as a teacher, just like as a YouTuber, for example, you can really have a crazy impact on a kid's life, or anyone for that matter. And you may never hear from them. That kid that you may be their favorite teacher and like a life-changing person in their existence, you may never find out about it until years later, possibly, or maybe not at all. So you just have to think like of all these kids that you're teaching, you know, there's behavior issues. Obviously you're dealing with a lot of stuff. Just think maybe there's somebody in that group that like really needs this and they really need you. And you can have an amazing impact, or you could be like the exact opposite of that, which is like a lot of teachers that I had. But yeah, I think it's nice to be a beacon of hope for people. Next one comes from MV Engent again, but it stands for Mark Van Gent, or Van Gent, I guess it is. He says, you may know me from the live streams Brickitect. Yes, I remember you, Mark. I didn't know that was your handle, though. These handles are very hard. He says, Greg's farm sounds amazing. Will there be a pork chop too? Well, pork chop was my pig from back in the day that my buddy and I went halvesies on in an effort to raise her up and then get her slaughtered for meat. And I was an idiot because I thought I was actually going to do that. I couldn't do it. So I ended up selling pork chop off. What happened to her after that? I like to think she lived happily ever after. I'm thinking that she probably didn't, but I couldn't kill an animal. If I get a pig, it's going to be the smallest pig you can possibly get, like a little pot belly one. I want one that's like the size of a cat. And I would just love that. I'd snuggle that pig so hard, and like Clark would love it too. So I do see another pig in my life, just not a 400-pound one that could literally like destroy me and become too much for what we have. Gosh, I'll never forget when Pork Chop escaped her fence and in the snow came down to our house and was like standing at our back door, literally just like a dog. Pigs are so cool and so smart. You'd be shocked. It like would make you not want to eat pork ever again, even though I still eat pork. I try to, that disconnect there is there. But if like I think about Pork Chop and then I think of like a pulled pork sandwich, I just love them both so much. I can't pick one. That's terrible, isn't it? But yeah, that's when you think about it. Mark goes on to say, asking for something you want can't hurt. Just look at your father-in-law saying, got any Lego? He does, and it appears. Like I said in the multiple weeks episodes, it's like, what's the worst someone can say? No? You say no? Okay. Okay, thanks. Thank you. And that's it. There's no harm done. Thank you for the comment and the explanation as to who you are, sir. Next one comes from Megan's Moments. She says, I have to thank you, but mostly Cody. I'm going to have Cody read these comments on this. I had no idea. Like, there's so many comments for Cody. But for mostly Cody, for getting me to be a regular TJ Maxx and home goods shopper. I have both stores right next to each other in my town, but since I didn't grow up near one, I've never really seen the appeal of them. But you've posted so many videos of TJ Maxx. I love that place, dude. Honestly, all I ever see is Target, Walmart, an older one and smaller one I noticed in TJ Maxx. Is that all your town has? We have a Kohl's as well. Kohl's is overpriced in my opinion. Our mall's dead. To be honest, that's not a bad mix. I've been busy watching a lot of older videos, whatever YouTube suggests, since there really isn't anything better on TV to watch. I love the shopping videos. I don't watch TV at all. There's literally nothing. In fact, we have YouTube TV and their pricing is like ridiculous and we don't use it much, but we have Little League World Series. That's something we enjoy watching, and then once that's done, I'm cutting YouTube TV and saving the money each month towards something else, something that serves us. This next one and last one in feel good comment of the week comes from Samuel Bartz. Samuel says, I'm totally with you on the organization and selling front. I have a lot of stuff I've accumulated over the years and I'm simply not using anymore. This includes a whole lot of older computers from my computer hobby. I have like 3 laptops that I don't use anymore that I have in storage, Samuel. We and you were same. He says a hobby which I'm still into now and again, but not enough to keep those computers sitting around. I'm thinking I'll either sell them or give them away to some young kids or something like that. I've already done the formatting and all them. I just haven't listed any of them. Not that they're worth much anyways. I'm going to be starting my junior year of high school this week, so it's a little shocking to me how I already think I have too much stuff. Hey man, you realize that now before you get a place of your own, you're going to be in such a better position than what you'd be at 38 years old and have a storage room of doom behind you looming as you do a podcast. He says, I also want to mention that I thoroughly enjoy your content over on Greg's World. And this is the interesting part. He says, you're a person I first found probably a couple years ago, but only because of the video of Cody getting her Tacoma way back when. I'm a huge car enthusiast, especially for Toyotas, and I've always liked those kinds of videos. I want to say it was February of this year when I took a deeper dive into your channel and fell in love immediately. Here's a man with a wife and a kid in rural yet not so rural Pennsylvania, just living life. It often feels as if vlog channels these days have turned into, what can we do to get us views? Those channels always drove me kind of crazy, and some of my other favorite vlog channels have steered me away from my viewership. You guys have become a pinnacle of my life as of late. I've had some major life changes in regards to my relationship status and my religion. Those changes were changes that I've been extremely positive in my life, and I always think of you guys as to what I was into when it happened. You could say it has become a part of my story. And all though, thank you for being so relatable. Thank you for being my newest escape from reality, and thank you for being you. Who knows, maybe I'll send you and Clarkman some Legos I'm not using anymore for you to part out or use. Wishing you all the best from Samuel Bartz. Wow. Samuel, first of all, what a very well written comment that you put there, sir. I am like blown away at the maturity level that you have. Not even graduated high school yet, but this man is beyond his years, realizing that maybe he has too much stuff, trying to decide if it's serving him or not, making decisions in his life, making changes. It's an honor to be a part of that, but honestly, this is you. This isn't me. This is what you're doing, man. And I think that's awesome. And I think it's crazy. Like somehow, sometimes things bring us together. And I think about like that Toyota Tacoma video, which again was just a day in our life, but maybe someone found it because we got a Toyota, and then they are like, just like Samuel's there, like, what else do these people do? And that's kind of taken me back to what I was talking about earlier, where I need to maybe make some more searchable things, because maybe someone will find us and maybe they'll be like Samuel, where there is some value to be gained in their life in some way. They might have found us through a random YouTube short that I made about whatever, but then they're like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. Oh yeah, he's talking about this thing now. I never really thought about that. Maybe I do have too many computers. It's you just never know. And man, I am thrilled anytime I find stuff like that. And I found stuff like that on TikTok, not on YouTube, for the most part, because they're, like I said, their algorithm's so good. So that's just really got me thinking. Like I'm kind of on the lines with Samuel there, where I'm looking for something that can change my life for the better, and I'm trying to be that for other people, and I'm trying to find the best way to do that and through the best means. And I think I've kind of got it figured out. And I do think this podcast plays a role in that, but not necessarily in just documenting my day-to-day activities. It's the extras around that. So that's why I'm trying to like really ponder this and think about it. So I will do that over the next week or so. And on the 1-year anniversary of this, if I decide to make a change, then we'll talk about it, or maybe it'll just be next week's episode. We'll see how things go as I see which way the wind blows. And I encourage you to do the same. Think about things in your life, and like I said last week, and the title of last week's episode, is this serving you? Are you getting value from this object, this activity, this thing you're investing your time, your life, and your energy into? And if you are, do more of that. And if you're not, do less of that. Get rid of it, cut it out, whatever it is. But find like a path in life. And even if you're walking in the wrong direction, at least you're walking somewhere. So on that, I appreciate you tuning in to this week's episode of Missing Pieces. I hope you have a glorious week, and I'll see you possibly in the next episode.